Hello, lovelies. It is Tuesday, May 1st, 2018 at 11:23 a.m. at this moment. So I want to talk about, I had a dream 2 mornings ago, I should say, when I was waking up and remembering the dream. I want to be a little bit vague about the specifics of the dream because it's sort of really personal, and I want to talk really about the my interpretation of this dream and what it means to me. And I'm going to talk about it in vague terms because I think it potentially has reaching benefits in many areas, and it doesn't have to be specifically just the one particular issue that I was dreaming about. So the general idea was that a fantasy concept of mine died. In the dream, I recognized that something was dead. It was basically like 99% dead. I was 99% sure that it was dead, and I was devastated about that, and there was a palpable grief-stricken disbelief. I felt an intense energy, like the intensity equivalent to someone extremely important dying, and the realization that you will never see them again in this form, and you'll never have another conversation with them, and you'll never get to do things that you might have wanted to do. That type of palpable, grief-stricken, heart-shattered kind of feeling in the dream. And it was mixed with this equally powerfully intense, beautiful day, beautiful place where I was. So it was a mixture of everything around me that is physical, the home that I'm standing in, and then I went out onto a porch, just basically so the person that I was with, there was someone that was with me, and I felt this grief of disbelief, like I feel like it's 99% true that this is this person. I'm just going to say it was represented as a person in my dream. But the interpretation of the dream is that it wasn't really the person that was dead, or 99% probably dead in the dream, that's relevant in my waking life. What's relevant is the fantasy concept that is dead, that needs to die in my life in order for it's right at 4 minutes, and I'm trying to make this like a sort of sum it up in 2 hours, sum it up in a whole lifetime. What I recognized is that holding a space for something around yourself is holding a vibration of something. So if you're holding a space and a vibration for something that's absent, and in order for you to maintain that vibration or that space, you have to maintain the absence of that thing, whether it's a person or a relationship or a job or a source of income or a dream that you want to do, a book you want to write, a painting you want to paint, or a song you want to learn, or an instrument you want to learn, or the possibilities are infinitely endless of things that people might want to do. So it's kind of like, it's like if you have a job or a career that's not really well matched for you, but you're spending 40 to 60 hours a week doing that thing because for whatever reason you have either these self-limiting beliefs, or maybe they were adopted beliefs that some other people may have given us that we took without questioning. It may be things people told us about ourselves. It might be things that's a mixture of, somebody disapproved of what you actually wanted to do, and they also had a better version of what you should do for you, ready-made. So it was like, no, you don't want to be a dancer. You want to be a secretary. Or, no, you don't want to be an artist. That's so hard. Like, don't be a loser like that. Don't waste your life away falling in love with a loser, an artist, and don't be a loser artist, like that's such an impractical thing to do. Why don't you go work for this office and, take care of this high executive's schedule and staple their emails that you print out? Or, I did some pretty complicated things. I did a lot of complicated things at different jobs, way more than that. I'm just sort of talking about like, ideas that other people offer, whether it's society, teachers, classmates, friends, parents. Like there was a woman who worked at the Salvation Army when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I worked there as just like a counselor, not a counselor, but like kids, just watching kids at an after-school program, and sometimes at night when their parents practiced in the band. And she was so, it's like I could feel her energy of feeling like full of this self-importance that she seemed to try to exude, and like she wanted to let me know that I was going to be listening to bosses all my life, so I'd better get used to it now. And I was like, fuck you. Or probably it was more like, fuck you! And I ran out of there. And I walked out like, wow, this woman, like, I don't know what is crunked up in her world, but she wants to try to like snuff me down and tell me that I'm going to be following orders the rest of my life. This is me as a 12 or 13-year-old. I was very, very, very belligerent. Like, oh no, motherfucker, ain't nobody gonna hold me down. Yeah, I only even recently came to recognize how much anger has served me in my life. Anger has been my friend. It has been, in some ways, my constant companion, letting me feel empowered so that I can assert myself, because I have been trampled on emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And like I'm saying, the point and interpretation of this dream, I have also created these fantasy constructs of concepts of emotional states, emotional bodies, emotional synaptical, sensorial connections that I've interwoven into the existence of my being. And so, like in this dream, basically, well, I've interwoven these things into my being, which are not inherently who I am, like genetics, and then epigenetics, which is, you're born with sort of where you're at, and then like how everything evolves based on your environment and the people around you and the food you eat and the nature and the nurture and your own thoughts and your own perceptions, your sensory perceptions and your vibrational energy perceptions. And so it's like we all come into this world, according to Abraham Hicks, we are intentional vibrational beings, and we came into the world in the way that we did intentionally. And if it was painful and abusive and horrible and war-torn, or heart war torn, like some people are at war all the time, even though they live in a place of peace where there's no actual bombing and shooting and killing, or it's not. I mean, there's killing where I live. People get killed around here, but not as horribly as in other places, and or as much. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel relatively safe here, which is not true in other places. So you can live somewhere where you're relatively safe physically, but yet be war-torn in your heart as far as emotionally, because in my case, I was raised by people who had been raised by people who did not know how to love them and harmed them physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so they grew up to be undeveloped people who were not emotionally intelligent, and they had a lot of negative self-beliefs that limited them, and they had a lot of bad habits that were unhealthy and created more problems. And then they became parents in really unhappy situations, and they were not prepared, and all of these things. So so that's basically what I came into. I came into people who were fucked up, and they shared all of that fucked upness with moi. And many people are living their life right now with, probably the details are incredibly different, but the underlying issues can be the same. So basically, I had this concept of myself and in love in a certain way that perpetuated this idea that I would remain invisible. So there's birds. There's spring birds outside. It's May. It's the first day of May. It's the first day of May 2018. So I woke up from the stream like, oh, I can't believe. Like, it was so intense, like basically having to grieve the death of someone that I was not in any way prepared to grieve the death of. And yet it was mixed in with this absolute perfection of the sky was so blue, the trees were filled with beautiful green leaves, the sun was sparkling and dazzling, as it was like filtering and twinkling through the trees. This is after I went, so I was inside the house, which was beautiful, and there was someone dear to me, near me, but I knew that it was just not appropriate for me to say the words like, so-and-so is dead, and are they really, like, basically the dream was me clinging with everything I could to this 1% possibility, like they have to still be alive. And I went outside and I stood on the porch and I saw a woman, a motherly woman, and felt that I could go to her and speak to her. And I was looking up at the beautiful trees in the sky and how everything was so beautiful. The weather was perfect. Everything was perfect. Except the anguish of knowing that this person, 99% likely, was dead. I'm combing my hair. But yet there was this it was as if all my energy was channeled into this 1% of possibility of it still being true. And I was looking up at the sky, seeing the sun filtering through all of these leaves, and I was basically sending out a prayer. If there is any way in this universe for this person to still be living, please let that be so. And I woke up and realized I was dreaming and that the person is alive. And I felt such relief and so much gratitude. And interestingly, 10 years ago, I had a similar dream. Although it was actually more definitive. And I allowed that to launch myself into a series of what felt like inspired actions, which were, because it led me to the miracle 1 and 2 of my children being born. And I can see clearly with clarity and objective, honest observation that the inspired action that pushed me and propelled me back to New Jersey and back to my high school sweetheart, the motivation or the inspiration, the inspiration to those actions came from the absolute clarity of wanting to be a mother. And just sort of like this higher inner being knowing that these children were, I could feel their energy. So this is bringing me back to that other video that I just rewatched that I made that I didn't post, which was talking about I am beginning to actually feel the presence of the energy of this love that I know from my inner being. This love being like a verb, an action word, but also like a thing, meaning like a relationship would be a thing. You know, it's like a living, breathing entity thing, like love as a living, breathing, like a condition that you find yourself in, you know, like if you eat really healthy and you exercise and you get a lot of sunshine and you drink good water, you're going to find yourself in a condition of better health. And if you eat a lot of junk food and you don't get well rested and you don't exercise and you don't go for walks and you don't get in the sun and you don't get the proper nutrition and you're not feeling good and happy, thinking happy thoughts, then the condition you're gonna be in is not gonna be well. So love not being this is the idea that I keep floating. It's floating in my mind. Like, I am not looking for love. I'm not seeking love. I'm not looking for a partner. I am not looking for a partner who is going to give me love and looking for a partner. Looking for a partner to give me a partnership. I'm not looking for that. I am opening to allowing myself to receive a partner. I am a partner who is already living within a partnership. I'm already in a partnership with myself. I am a partner. I am partnered with myself. I am my own partner. I am already in a partnership. And I am a partner in a partnership of a relationship of love, self-love, self-care, self-worth, self-excavation, self-knowledge, self-education. Like I was saying in that other video about the schemas and the lacunas, which is the things that we hide from ourselves, but then we hide from ourselves that we're hiding it from ourselves. So we have this fear or this doubt or this wound, this bad thing that happened, this abandonment, this abuse, this traumatic event, and it created inside of me, in my case, I'll say, for example, certain events that happened created issues where I couldn't trust other people. I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't trust my own feelings of attraction for other people because those feelings didn't feel safe. And so being attracted to someone was attached. Being attracted to someone was attached to the pain of a childhood trauma relating to sex and my body and my relationship to myself and to others, and appropriateness and depravity and perversion and sick things that as a young child what happened was, this is bad and yucky and terrible and scary, so I'm going to just look, I don't even want to look at that. And so I'm hiding that from myself. But now I'm hiding that from myself as well. So here I am over here. La 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 la. Hi, you're cute. Yeah, let's go out for coffee. And all the while, there's this pile of dirty dishes in the sink. Or, unhealed wounds in my subconscious that are festering and rotting inside of me. And I feel like I'm a good person, and I feel like I have love to give. And I feel like I have good positive things to offer, but at the same time, there's something icky down there, and I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel good. And so when people start to get close, in the past, I haven't had people getting close to me in a long time, but in the past, in my previous experiments and experiences with relating to men specifically in a romantic capacity, when there was threat of intimacy, my inability to share myself came from my inability to share myself intimately, emotionally, and on a real, deeply physical, spiritual, mental level with another, specifically like a man in a romantic capacity, came from my own inability to share intimately and deeply with myself about myself. Like not being able to face my own scary, unhealed wounds, my own pains, my own traumatic experiences, my own childhood childhood wounds, not being able to even see certain things, to know that they even need to be healed, that poses a huge challenge. Like, how can you heal yourself if you don't even know what's in there? It's in there, but you don't even know it's in there. It's hidden, and it's like it's some shit in the bottom of a trunk that's covered up with some other shit, and that's in the attic somewhere. You don't even know what's in there, and you're supposed to heal it. And that's also been one of my I feel that has been one of my holding me back things, is the feeling and the knowing of, I have certain wounds. I have things that happened to me that were painful, but they happened to me before I could formulate memories, that I could hear words or have pictures, like mental images. So it's more like my vibrational memory, my heart brain, my gut brain, and even in my brain, but like on a cellular level, energetically. I guess I've always felt like, how can you heal something you don't even know what it is? I know some bad shit happened, but I don't know exactly what. So how do I heal it? And it's kind of like, I guess something like Abraham Hicks says, well, go general, and it's also like a Tonglen teaching, like Pema Chodron or Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and like Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a lot about just love. Like, if you could say to yourself, oh, anger, my anger, I see you, darling anger, and I know that you are there, and I know that you have served me. I know that when I was a little girl, I was hurt, and I also felt a very strong sense of self, that even though the adults in my life actually tried to squash me, and they did, they stepped on me, and they stepped on me, and they hit me, and they punched me, and they knocked me down with their fists, and with their words, and with their actions, and tried to destroy my sense of self intentionally, even though it came from a place of being fucked up, unhealthy, sick, and unhealed. There's a bee. Hello, Bumblebee. You can't come in here. Like, as an adult, I have the ability now to say to myself, actually, she's not over here, but when I don't pay attention to her and I turn my back on her, she is over there. Instead of like saying, oh, little self over there, say, actually, you're inside of me. You are inside of the vortices of energy inside every atom of every cell of my body. And I can either let the vibration of you remain unhealed, and these unhealed parts of me will forever be back there festering. And no matter how cute a guy is, or how much he likes me, or how well matched we are, even if he is literally the man I will marry. Okay, let's just say this. I could stand in front of the man who I am going to marry in this life. I could stand in front of him right now. And if I am unable to be open and unable to share myself with him because I'm unwilling and unable to share myself with myself, he's not going to click. He's not going to link in. Our vibrations are not going to. So it doesn't even mean that just because at this very moment I can say I have zero clue about who I'm going to marry based on the physical evidence given to me right here. As of right now, I could say I have no idea. But at the same time, I can also say, well, I know he's alive. I know he's probably not that far away because I can feel the vibration. So this is like I'm saying, going back 10 years, 11 years. I was living in California. I was with some other man. I was living with another man, actively in a relationship with that other man. And I started to have this awareness that I knew I needed to have children. Like, what I'm saying is their energy, the energy of the existence of these children, the vibrational energy was coming through from the non-physical world into my awareness with such palpability that I could feel, even though it seemed impossible, even though I was living with a man at the time, he was so wrong for me in every way. And the idea of having children with him was like a nightmare. Like, I would never want to have children with this man. So at the time of where I was, the idea of having children and having a happy man with me and a marriage and a family, like, that just seemed like the impossible dream. Even though I was feeling so palpably, intensely, feeling the weight of the vibrational energy presence of these children that wanted to be born. And I can't say that I would have worded it that way back then, but now in the manifestation of them, I can say that in retrospect. But I also can say with complete clarity that focusing on that husband-wife kind of, like, this is really my real partner, the conscious man I'm going to build a conscious relationship with, and we're so well matched in all these ways, and we're linked up, and it's like I like to say, mutually aligned romantic reciprocity, interconnection, alignment, again, gateway to emotional expansion, also known as marriage. MARRIAGE. Mutually aligned romantic reciprocity, interconnection, alignment, again, gateway to emotional expansion. A gateway to emotional expansion. So when I got back to my hometown from where I had been out in California, and I reconnected with my high school sweetheart that I had been in love with all those years, even though we were broken up, I knew I wanted to have children, and I also knew that I wanted him. So I had a dream, a very intense dream, that inspired me to recognize, like, so I always had these feelings inside me, like, I love him, I love him, I love him, I love him. And this particular dream, not the one I had 2 days ago, but 10 years ago, I had a dream that after I marinated in that dream, the feelings of the dream for a month, I felt said something like, you must go back to, your hometown and see if there's anything to pursue that is love between me and my high school sweetheart. And I wasn't like I knew that I wanted marriage in my life and children. I was aware of that, but I wasn't aligned with it to the point where when I came back and he said, we can hang out and we can do this and that, but I don't want to have kids and I don't want to get married at all. Now I can clearly look at that and say, if I really had truly been aligned with, I want to get married with a man who wants to have a family with me. I want a man who says, I would like to have a family with you and let's get married and do this. Not instantly, he would say that, but that would be his desire to create that, that first of all, before I stepped into his life, that he had on his own the desire for marriage and a family, that's a desire that he lives with, and that when we meet, we like each other, we both have the same desire, and as we get to know each other and we find that we are well matched, our well matched desires are also well matched, and but No, that's not at all what I was thinking about. I had no concept of such a thing. I just knew my heart wants this one. My heart wants this heart. And I want some babies. I also was operating under the false but long held, at least 15-year-old belief that I was not capable of physically having children naturally because of a book I have to write. That was like, basically I went from being physically barren to naturally conceiving and birthing two amazingly beautiful, perfect, miraculous children. And, it was a huge part of it, I believe, was from veganism, but there was also a lot of emotional aspects, energy healing aspects that went into the process that got me. So I would say if you're somebody who has a lot of fertility issues, going vegan alone would not necessarily cure you. Getting rid of processed sugar alone would not necessarily cure you. But if you have the diet, the sugar stuff, and then you do emotional work, you shadow work, like find out, uncover what, that's, I guess that's what I'm talking about, like the hidden, I'm hiding this shit, and I'm hiding the fact that I'm hiding this shit from myself, and I'm hiding the fact that I'm hiding this shit and hiding it from myself. I'm hiding that too. I'm hiding it from myself, and I'm hiding it from myself that I'm hiding it from myself, and I'm hiding the fact that I'm hiding it from myself. I'm hiding it from myself. So yeah, you got to do a lot of shadow work, which means the willingness to feel those bad, shitty feelings, but not. So it's not you're going to feel those bad, shitty feelings so you can be depressed and just stay in the mud and in the muck of it. It's, I am going to feel this and face it and look at it and examine it and understand it to whatever degree I can and heal it emotionally with the golden light of healing energy, which I don't know why. I do know why. I'm letting it in, I'm letting it in, and I am feeling that this is a real thing. I can heal 40-year-old wounds that are inside my cells on a cellular level that are vibrating in the vortices of energy in every atom inside my entire body. I can heal them through energy waves that are going to purify those wounds with magic, voodoo, woo-woo, hoo-hoo, new age, old age, ancient, timeless, invisible, but powerful magic. I will allow the golden light of healing energy to flow through every single cell of my body and to pull out with it all of those pain, the pain of the hurts that I don't even know the details of, but I just feel the energy, and I feel the energy being released as I let it go. So I can let go of these false concepts of myself as someone who can only be loved by being invisible, so actually I'm not ever loved. So I only allow myself to be interested in a man who doesn't see me at all. And then that's comfortable for me because while he's not seeing me and I'm being unseen, I'm safe. So the death in the dream, finally I'm interpreting it, is not the death of a real person, the death of a concept of myself. The death of a concept of myself as a person who can't ever actually be openly loved, and that could only be loved by not being loved. The concept of love itself, like, okay, so the concept of me as a person who can only be loved by not being loved, the deeper level of that is the concept of love itself is absence or pain. So as the youngest little girl that I was, in my littlest of days, I was taught intentionally to distrust love, myself, and at a very young age, I was taught to distrust men and sex, and I was exposed to things that were completely inappropriate, which gave me a very negative, unhealthy, scary relationship to sex. And so all of these things that became hidden inside of me became ways in which I related to others, myself, and the world, which basically became a subconscious wanting to be invisible as well as a consciously wanting to be invisible and choose, like, so what died 2 nights ago for me? It was like I said in this other video, I've always felt the lack of this special person in my life, so knowing that he wasn't there, but I never believed in his presence. I always believed in his lack, his absence, not making the connection. If he's absent, he must be in existence. He's just not here. And the reason he's not here is because of the invisible fence I have around me, which is filled up with this belief that he's not, that he's absent. So even him, the actual husbandman who eventually will develop into that over time, that actual human being who lives and breathes right now as I'm making this video, and I'm not consciously aware that he is him, and he may not be consciously aware that I am me to him, he is unaware because my vibration is so filled up with his absence that he cannot penetrate. Even though it looks empty, it's invisible air, you think, well, you could just walk right through it. But no, because it's dense. It's energy. Even though it looks invisible, it's actually as dense as a physical wall. So he could not step to me as long as I maintain the vibration of his absence because it's keeping him out, literally. My vibrational belief that he does not exist or that he is not here will not allow the manifestation of his physical matter to emerge in my awareness as long as I cling to that vibration of his absence. And so the dream was the death of that, the concept of his absence. The dream represented the death of the concept that in order for a man to be my man, he must be absent.